Tuesday saw a more than 1.5% increase in Nvidia shares after the company invested $2 billion in CoreWeave. In the face of ongoing hyperscaler expenditure plans, investors continue to view the strategic partnership as a sign of locked-in demand for Nvidia's AI chips. At $87.20 per share, Nvidia acquired around 23 million shares of CoreWeave Class A common stock, increasing its shareholding to about 9% and positioning it as the second-largest shareholder in the cloud provider. This expands on Nvidia's previous 6.3% ownership and its previously announced pledge to purchase over $6 billion worth of CoreWeave services through 2032. The agreement expedites CoreWeave's goal to construct more than 5 gigawatts of AI data center capacity by 2030, which the business refers to as AI factories. CoreWeave is positioned as an early user of Nvidia's next-generation Rubin CPUs and Blackwell platforms, catering to major hyperscalers and AI developers. Through a greater integration of the chipmaker into the infrastructure build-out, this relationship improves Nvidia's demand visibility. Jensen Huang, CEO of Nvidia, emphasized coordinated technical efforts to accelerate the deployment of computing capacity and referred to it as a vote of confidence in CoreWeave's growth and business strategy. According to analysts, it is a traditional Nvidia ecosystem play with significant switching costs through full-stack software, networking, and processor integration. The news was reflected in a slight decline in Nvidia's stock. After trading between $185.99 and $189.12 on a volume of over 124.8 million shares, it finished Monday at $186.47. Amid lower volume, shares were trading at about $189.02 on Tuesday. In reaction to competitive fears, CoreWeave's valuation surged. Nvidia's subdued response betrays a more general sense of optimism over the demand for AI infrastructure. Due to a surge in consumer interest, Nvidia CFO Colette Kress recently stated that the company's $500 billion revenue visibility for present and future data center processors through end 2026 has definitely gotten larger. Q3 fiscal 2026 data center revenue hit $51.2 billion, 90% of total sales, with Q4 guidance at $65 billion. The bull case is supported by Wall Street consensus. Citing Nvidia's appealing 2026 PEG ratio below sector parity, Evercore ISI reaffirmed outperform with a $352 price target. An upside of 37 to 41% is implied by the average analyst targets, which cluster around $255 to $263. Growth built into prices is reflected in forward PE projections, which range from the mid-20s to the low 30s. Pricing power is weakened by competition from bespoke chips like Google's TPUs and Amazon's Trainium 3, but experts contend that overall compute demand grows more quickly than any one vendor loses market share. Nvidia continues to dominate the AI accelerator market by 80%. There are still risks because the 46x trailing PE multiple might be impacted by capex slowdowns, China export restrictions, or production scaling issues. The January 28th earnings from Microsoft and Meta are significant because any confirmation of AI budgets could spark new growth. As of right now, the CoreWeave wager supports Nvidia's moat in a spending cycle that hasn't reached its top. Nvidia's stock might be inexpensive before its earnings announcement on February 25th. In an interview, Art Hogan, a strategist at B. Riley, stated that this is the lowest valuation for Nvidia in around 3 years. So when you're trading at 25 times forward earnings, which is going to go down after the upcoming earnings report because they're going to raise their guidance, they're the tip of the sword for artificial intelligence spend, Hogan continued. I simply believe that Nvidia will only serve to revitalize the market. As Hogan points out, Nvidia's price has dropped recently. Join our investor community. Hit subscribe and like to get your daily Nvidia stock insights and tutorials delivered. For well-known tech stocks like Nvidia in 2026, it has been touch and go. A new dynamic has evolved following a number of years in which IT giants dominated the composition of the S&P 500 like never before. The weight of the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 has recently seen some major deterioration relative to the rest of the stock market, RBC Capital Markets strategist Lori Calvasina pointed out. As concerns about overpaying on AI infrastructure intensify, sentiment toward technology has worsened. Evercore ISI data indicates that in the post-pandemic environment, information technology is trading at its lowest valuation premium to the S&P 500. While the other 493 firms in the S&P 500 trade close to their all-time high values, the price-to-earnings ratio for the Magnificent Seven is consistent with its post-pandemic average. Investors have shifted their focus from technology to more valuable industries like healthcare, energy, and manufacturing. Nvidia's stock is down 1.5% year-to-date, trailing the Nasdaq Composite and S&P 500. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, has contributed to the stock rising once more. At the World Economic Forum last week, Huang stated that he is witnessing a boom in trade jobs and six-figure wages for people who are assisting in the development of AI infrastructure. According to Huang, everyone ought to be able to earn a good life. He went on to say that he anticipates the largest infrastructure build-out in human history, involving trillions of dollars as a result of the current wave of AI. Additionally, he resisted the idea that there was an AI bubble once more. He claimed that the sole reason for concerns about an AI bubble is the size of the investments, but the opportunity is really quite extraordinary. Nvidia's stock has been one of the top technological value producers over the past few years. Value creation has been supported by notable increases in sales, margins, and cash flows as artificial intelligence, AI investments have surged. Nvidia is currently valued at $4.6 trillion. There doesn't appear to be a shortage of catalysts in the future. According to Goldman Sachs, by 2030, infrastructure spending associated with AI is expected to reach $3 trillion to $4 trillion globally. Although trade disputes have been a worry, new reports also indicate that Chinese authorities have given Alibaba, Tencent, and ByteDance in-principle approval to get ready for Nvidia H200 orders. The story goes on to say that ByteDance and Alibaba want to order more than 200,000 machines apiece. Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, said earlier this month that Chinese consumers had a high demand for the H200 chips. Therefore, it is likely to assist overall growth once the purchase orders begin to flow. Nvidia claims to be a leader in accelerated computing worldwide. The business specializes in platforms and products for the gaming, data center, automotive, and professional visualization markets. As the business that develops the most cutting-edge processors, systems, and software for AI factories, Nvidia plays a vital part in the development of AI. Nvidia announced $57 billion in revenue for the third quarter of fiscal 2026, a 62% year-over-year YOY increase. At 73.4% for the same period, the GA8 margin was impressive. Over the previous 6 months, Nvidia's stock has risen by 7%. The rise appears to be an opportunity to accumulate and has been somewhat muted. Nvidia's growth momentum is structural rather than cyclical. To put things in perspective, Nvidia anticipates that in the upcoming years, demand will be driven by agentic applications, sophisticated AI models, and accelerated computing. Jensen Huang, the company's founder and CEO, has also hinted at the start of a virtuous cycle of AI. The fact that Nvidia has teamed up with businesses like Alphabet, Microsoft, Oracle, and xAI to develop AI infrastructure in the US supports this optimistic viewpoint. Additionally, Nvidia and Intel have worked together to create several generations of customized PC and data center solutions. Additionally, industries like robotics, health sciences, and automotive, among others, have a lot of room to grow. Robotics will probably be a major industry in the technology sector, according to BNP Paribas' opinion earlier this month. From the standpoint of creating wealth for shareholders, Nvidia's expansion has important ramifications. Nvidia reported $22.1 billion in free cash flow, FCF, for the third quarter. Given the rate of increase, it might not be long until yearly FCF hits $100 billion. Strong financial flexibility will support aggressive share repurchases and expansion fueled by RNAMP.D. The consensus rating for Nvidia stock is strong buy, based on the opinions of 50 analysts. Nvidia is rated as a strong buy by 44 analysts, the vast majority. Additionally, 2 analysts have rated the stock as a hold, while 3 analysts have rated it as a moderate buy. Lastly, One expert has rated the stock as a strong sell on the pessimistic side. Analysts presently have a mean price target of $254.81 based on these ratings, which suggests a 36% upside potential. Additionally, the most optimistic price forecast of $352 indicates that Nvidia stock may increase by up to 89% from this point. Notably, Nvidia's trailing 12-month price-to-earnings (PE) ratio is 48. Nonetheless, Nvidia's PE ratio is less than 1, with profits growth anticipated to be 51% in fiscal 2026 and 59% in fiscal 2027. This suggests that the price of Nvidia stock is not always high. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
S&P hitting a fresh all-time high today. Gold and especially silver are reversing. Silver was down 5% earlier. We should note that every day because the moves there have been just astounding. And it is down near 7%. You have another tariff threat from the president. You have the Fed decision tomorrow. You've got Microsoft, Meta, and Tesla tomorrow as well. Apple on Thursday. And then the possibility of that shutdown coming on Friday. What's on your mind as you watch these markets today?
Well, there goes the broadening narrative. The S&P equal weight is actually down on the day. So we're back to the environment in which it's the mega caps, it's semiconductors, it's Lam Research, it's KLA Corp, it's Applied Materials making new 52-week highs. It is Apple making a nice recovery, Microsoft making a nice recovery. So once again, it's all about tech. And you're right, this is a critical week. And over the next 10 days, we're not just going to hear this week, but we're also going to hear next week from Alphabet and from Amazon. And the key is the spending. The spending is the key. And the spending has never really been the question. What really is the question is when the return.
Overspending.
No. It's when does the return on spending actually happen? If you think about it, the operating cash flow for Amazon, they spend 90% of that operating cash flow on building out data centers in AWS. The return on that spending, that's really the question as you begin to look forward. We're going to hear from all of these companies over the next 10 days about it.
What's interesting, Steph, is that many of these names are running into the prints, which does something to the bar. Maybe it raises it. I'm not sure because the stocks hadn't performed all that well going into the numbers. However, if you look at the one-week performance from many of these, Meta is up 11% over 1 week. You own that. Nvidia is up 6.5%. Apple's up 5%. This is one of the few periods, really recently, where you can look over any kind of short period of time and say, wow, they're all up, because they haven't been trading all together as a monolith. But they have over the last week, trying to potentially anticipate what I think the street thinks is going to be a good reporting from these companies.
I think the reports are all going to be good, but to your point on the performance of these stocks, yes, they've had a good week or two, but they are all, except Google, they are all down from their highs. Meta is still down 15% from its highs. Microsoft down 12%, Apple down 10%. I actually like the setup of that when they're down, and yet they are starting to see a recovery. I do think that Joe is right about the spend. I think the spend is going higher, but to me, the most important thing is free cash flow after the spend. And all of these companies are going to still have considerable free cash flow. So Meta is going to have $16 billion this year. Amazon is going to have $41 billion in free cash flow this year. Microsoft at $77 billion, et cetera, et cetera. So they're all going to still have free cash flow and flexibility to continue to invest as they should, given the AI revolution. As a whole, earnings are running at about 9% so far.
They are. That's ahead of expectations.
And that is ahead, and I actually think you're on track to do something like 12, 13%. There are some aggressive targets, Scott, out there of 16, 17%. I'm not there. I'm in 12, 13 in a 3.5%, 4% GDP world, and it's not just revenues, it's not just earnings, it's not just revenues, it's also margins, which I pay very close attention to.
Yeah.
And I think the economic data still is very supportive of all of of this. And so you want to pick your spots. I don't think it's just going to be Mag 7 that take over. I think I can name a whole bunch of companies that reported in the past week that are down. Because earnings is stupid season.
No, I'm glad you raised that point, because I was literally going to go there next.
Yeah.
That Wolf points out today what they call punishing price action to start earnings season. That even very solid results, these are their words, the share prices of companies beating on the top and the bottom lines have witnessed negative relative price action after reporting. They do not think it's sustainable, though. They expect double beats to exhibit positive price action as more companies report. It is interesting, though, to see good reports not being greeted well on Wall Street, and that leads to maybe some trepidation heading into these numbers over the next couple of days.
Well, there's the potential that this is just a sort of re-rating in terms of valuation that investors are looking at. But I would agree with Wolf in that paradigm cannot persist in our view. And so we have 81% of companies that have beat on earnings so far for the S&P 500. That's a pretty darn good number. And I think what you're doing is you're looking at these earnings releases that are likely to come in the next few days. And Scott, there's really no reason that, given the broad strength, there's no reason for the Mag 7 to upset that trend. I mean, there's absolutely no reason that they cannot continue to grow their earnings in this type of environment. I think more importantly, though, Scott, there's some of these exogenous weights on the market right now. There's some concern about a potential shutdown. There's concern about what's happening with the Fed and will they continue to be accommodative. And one could say that as we get further into earnings season, you're going to see companies in, for instance, in consumer. I actually think that's going to be really important from an inflection point perspective. The consumer confidence data today was pretty weak. And so I would say if we can get through earnings for tech and then we have consumer on the horizon, I actually think that that's where you could start to see some of this double beat really start to catalyze a stronger move, to Joe's point earlier, in the broadening direction.
I'll just come back to you for a moment when you say, the question is not about the mega cap companies growing their earnings. It's not about that at all. It's about the growth rate.
Right.
People aren't worried about them growing their earnings. It's, can you still grow your earnings at 50% or whatever that you had been to justify the appreciation of the stock and the multiple in these names. Yeah. That is what investors are grappling with as they look at the breakdown of the market, the broadening of it. Questions about, well, can tech still lead the way if those growth rates are slowing in any way whatsoever?
That's what we've been talking about, those valuations potentially being vulnerable for 6 or 7 quarters now, Scott, and yet we continue to see the growth. And I think to Stephanie's point, if you look at the narrative from these hyperscalers in particular, they are still willing to put forth the spending. They are still willing to meet what they think is still an undersupply, to Joe's point earlier, of this infrastructure. And so therefore, there's no reason to think that without any evidence of a dissipation of demand, which we don't see for AI, there's no reason to think that they can't continue to grow them. Most importantly, though, however, that delta is compressing. We're seeing the rest of the market grow their earnings, and therefore that delta compressing, I think, is going to be representative of